morning we have Jim Bird and Richard Lindsay joining us again from Safe Harbor Financial Services, and we're going to kind of go back to what we talked about last time on the book, The Ultimate Success Secret, in which you wrote a chapter, and we're going to be talking a little bit about mistakes retirees make in investments, right?
Well, throughout my time and 30 years in the business, I've found that there's about 7 common mistakes that most retirees make with their investments, and so I wrote that as my chapter. It's also part of my seminar that I do. And the very first one is thinking that your tax preparer is a tax planner. Okay, there's a big difference in it. And I'm going to let Richard, my CPA, is a tax planner. I'm going to let him explain the difference, basically.
All right.
Difference is fairly simple, Cherish. A tax preparer, and really up until this year, anybody could call themselves a tax preparer. You didn't have to have a license. You didn't have to have an education. You didn't have any training at all. You could a pencil in or a 10-year-old computer. But a tax planner or tax advisor is someone who's going to sit down with you, look at your return, look at your information, your income and your deductions, and give you some advice as to how you can do better, how you can save on taxes. For instance, one of the things that we look at with retirees is something we call phantom income. And we see it a lot when individuals are taking interest or dividend payments in addition to collecting Social Security. And if, for instance, the interest or dividends that they're receiving is not something that they're using, they're just reinvesting it or holding it, then it's income they don't need, but they're getting taxed on it. And the increase in income is also increasing the tax on their Social Security, which can be taxed up to 85% of their Social Security benefits can be taxed. So it's a double taxation, and people just don't realize it.
Wow, that's really interesting, but that's something that when they come in, you can point that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so when you're looking for a CPA, a certified public accountant, what are some characteristics, what are some qualities that you should look for?
One of the qualities that I always suggest is that you look for someone who you're comfortable with. I'm not good with everybody, but one of the things that I always think people ought to be looking for is someone who's proactive. There's an awful lot of CPAs out there that can find an answer to a question if the client brings the question up. The problem is the client just doesn't know the question to ask. So if you can find someone who's proactive in bringing up the questions to you, I think you're a lot better off. So
somebody who may do their research a little bit beforehand and then come to you with those questions?
Yes.
Okay, who do you think should have a CPA? Should everybody have a CPA?
Everybody doesn't need a CPA, and it's difficult to give broad parameters. The difficulty of the tax return has something to do with it. The more difficult the tax return, the more complex the variations of the tax code are, the more uncomfortable you feel doing it. I mean, I have met high-income earners, for instance, that have been comfortable doing their return for 30 years. And if they're comfortable doing it, I say continue to do it. You don't need a CPA. But if you're not sure about the taxes, if they confuse you, or if you're not sure about the advice that you've been getting or not getting, as the case may be, then that's time to seek out a CPA.
All right, so some really good information there.
Well, you know, too, Cherish, taxes are going up, you know, unless they change it. Congress acts, and that's hard for Congress to act on anything, but taxes are going up in January. You know, the new healthcare surtax is going to be added on, so there's a lot of new taxes that people need to know about. So you need to talk to our CPA. You need to do tax planning, financial planning, and legal planning, and we can do it all in one shop.
All right, and you guys are going to be joining us again in a couple of weeks. What are we going to be talking about then?
Well, we're going to be talking about the second step in the book. That was the first thing, but is not fundamentally changing your thinking in retirement. You know, retirement represents a fundamental change in your lifestyle, so you got to fundamentally change your investing, and that's what we're going to talk about, and that's probably the most important chapter in the book.
All right, well, looking forward to talking about that.